Naval war cinema has always carried a weight that other war genres cannot match because the sea has no mercy and no bias. Every decision becomes a gamble, every order a test of character. These 15 films are not just beloved by audiences, they are respected by real sailors who saw truth in their storms, noise, and sacrifice. Let us begin. Number 15, Operation Petticoat, 1959. It may seem strange to begin a list respected by sailors with a comedy, but Operation Petticoat earns its place because beneath its humorous surface lies a sharply observed portrait of submarine life. Real submariners often say that the film captures something few dramas ever manage: the grinding absurdity of trying to run a war machine in impossible conditions. The cramped living space, the mechanical failures, the unpredictable chaos all feel more authentic than many serious films. The plot centers on a damaged submarine struggling to stay operational while rescuing civilians and scavenging for parts. Sailors appreciate how the film shows the unglamorous truth that a sub at war is also a sub constantly breaking down. Nothing works perfectly, and ingenuity becomes survival. The crew's problem-solving, from improvising repairs to rationing supplies, reflects real submarine culture. What surprises many viewers is how often sailors mention the film's tone. They say that even in wartime, humor becomes a coping mechanism. Stress, boredom, and fear mix until absurdity becomes normal. This is why Operation Petticoat resonates. It does not romanticize the Navy, but humanizes it. It shows sailors not as flawless heroes, but as people forced to improvise under pressure. In that sense, it remains oddly accurate and quietly respected. Number 14, Crimson Tide, 1995. Crimson Tide captures a tension that every submariner understands even if they never lived it. Command is absolute yet fragile, discipline is rigid yet vulnerable, and communication is everything. The film dramatizes a nuclear submarine divided by conflicting interpretations of a launch order, and that central conflict feels uncomfortably plausible to many sailors. They respect how the movie portrays the weight of responsibility and the terrifying consequences of uncertainty. What makes Crimson Tide resonate is not its action, but its depiction of command philosophy. Real submariners point out that the film gets the emotional reality of a submarine right. The steel hull becomes a pressure chamber for both machinery and human beings. Tempers rise, oxygen thins, and every disagreement becomes amplified by isolation and fear. The clash between the seasoned captain and the idealistic executive officer reflects genuine tensions in military culture: tradition versus interpretation, hierarchy versus ethics, obedience versus analysis. Sailors often say that while the film takes dramatic license, it captures something real about the psychological burden of command. Above all, Crimson Tide succeeds because it treats submarine warfare as a moral battlefield, not just a physical one. Decisions carry echoes that might outlive the men who make them. That is why sailors respect it. Number 13, Captain Phillips, 2013. Although not a traditional naval war film, Captain Phillips earns deep respect from Navy personnel because it shows a modern reality that is rarely dramatized: the precision and discipline of a real-world maritime hostage rescue. Sailors admire the film's focus on procedure, communication, and teamwork, especially during the climactic mission carried out by Navy SEALs and guided by naval command structures. The film's accuracy in depicting bridge operations, threat assessment, and chain of command is often praised. Real sailors note that the movie captures the controlled chaos of a ship under duress, where every voice must remain calm even as danger closes in. It illustrates how modern naval operations rely heavily on coordination between ships, aircraft, and special warfare units. But the detail sailors respect most is the emotional truth of maritime fear. The film does not exaggerate the terror of being boarded by armed attackers because it does not need to. The sea is already isolating, and the arrival of violence strips away any illusion of safety. In the final act, the film portrays a Navy that is decisive, efficient, and unflinchingly professional. That tone rings true to the men and women who serve, and it is why Captain Phillips is held in such regard. Number 12, The Cruel Sea, 1953. The Cruel Sea is considered by many sailors to be one of the most honest naval films ever made because it shows war at sea as a battle against the ocean itself as much as the enemy. Its portrayal of convoy duty exhaustion and relentless U-boat threats resonates deeply with veterans of surface fleets. Unlike many war movies, this one does not glamorize combat. It emphasizes routine fatigue and the crushing moral weight of command. The captain must make impossible choices, including firing depth charges dangerously close to survivors, all in the desperate attempt to save the convoy. Sailors respect how the film confronts the emotional brutality of such decisions. The movie also stands out for its authenticity in depicting shipboard life. The noise, the wetness, the constant cold, and the sense of grinding duty all feel painfully real. Sailors say that the film understands something fundamental about naval warfare. It is monotonous until the moment it becomes horrifying. The Cruel Sea is bleak but truthful. That honesty is why sailors still regard it as essential viewing for anyone wanting to understand what the Battle of the Atlantic demanded from those who served. Number 11. WWII, 1976. Midway holds a special place in naval history and among sailors because it treats one of the most important battles ever fought at sea with respect and attention to detail. The film uses real archival footage blended with dramatization, and while modern audiences may find it dated, sailors still praise its accuracy and reverence for the men who fought. It captures the strategic complexity of carrier warfare, something few films manage. Decisions made by commanders miles apart influence the lives of thousands. Sailors appreciate how the movie highlights communication intelligence and timing rather than relying solely on spectacle. Another respected aspect is the portrayal of pilots and deck crews whose work was dangerous beyond imagination. Launching and recovering aircraft on a pitching deck while under threat is depicted with sincerity. Midway is not a flashy war film. It is a historical one. Its value lies in how it honors the reality of naval combat and preserves the memory of a turning point that shaped the remainder of the Pacific War. Sailors recognize that honesty and respect the film for it. Number 10. Battleship Potemkin, 1925. Though created long before modern naval warfare, Battleship Potemkin still earns respect from sailors because it captures the raw emotional truth of life at sea under extreme tension. The film is a revolutionary drama rather than a war epic, yet its depiction of mutiny discipline and the psychology of sailors trapped within rigid hierarchy feels strikingly accurate. Life aboard a warship is defined by structure, and Potemkin shows what happens when that structure cracks. Real sailors admire how the film portrays the claustrophobia of shipboard living. When authority fails or becomes abusive, there is no escape, only pressure building within steel walls. The mutiny is not presented as thrilling rebellion, but as a desperate eruption from men pushed past their limit. That emotional authenticity is why sailors still reference it despite its age. Another reason Potemkin earns their respect is its attention to routine labor and hardship. The film understands that sailors work constantly maintaining the ship, feeding the crew, cleaning the decks, and managing endless tasks, while leadership struggles to maintain morale. These details echo experiences shared by generations of naval personnel. Even its stylized editing, which made cinematic history, contributes to a sense of urgency and panic that feels recognizably maritime. Potemkin may not depict torpedoes, depth charges, or carrier strikes, but it remains one of the truest films ever made about the human side of naval service. Its emotional accuracy ensures its place on this list. Number 9. U-571, Schaff 2000. U-571 is a contentious film historically, but surprisingly respected by many submariners for its strong depiction of underwater tension, mechanical fragility, and crew dynamics under pressure. Sailors consistently note that while the story takes liberties, the atmosphere inside the submarine feels authentic and uncomfortable in all the right ways. The film captures the physical strain of submarine service, the sweat-soaked air, the constant noise of engines, the cramped bunks, and the sensation that the sea itself is always trying to crush the hull. Sailors admire how the movie emphasizes teamwork during damage control, showing that even small failures can rapidly become fatal. Another detail respected by Navy veterans is the portrayal of command transition. When leadership changes suddenly, especially under crisis, the crew must adapt instantly. U-571 turns this reality into its central conflict, forcing inexperienced officers to assume responsibility for life and death decisions. Submariners say this reflects the unpredictable nature of wartime service. The depth charge sequence also receives praise. Though dramatized, it conveys the terror of being hunted underwater, where silence is safety and one wrong noise can doom everyone aboard. U-571 may not be historically accurate, but it succeeds at portraying the emotional truth of submarine warfare. That truth is what sailors ultimately respect. Number 8. Run Silent, Run Deep. 1958. Run Silent, Run Deep earns deep respect from submariners because it captures the intense rivalry discipline and tactical precision that define submarine warfare. The film tells the story of a captain obsessed with destroying a particular enemy vessel and the crew caught between loyalty and doubt. Sailors appreciate how the film shows command not as a title, but as a burden that must be continuously earned. What stands out is the WWII film's accuracy in submarine procedures. From silent running to torpedo loading to evading sonar, the operational details feel grounded in real practice. Sailors especially admire how the movie emphasizes teamwork. A submarine cannot function if even one man fails at his station, and that truth drives the tension between officers and enlisted crew. The psychological strain is also depicted with remarkable clarity. The claustrophobic environment amplifies personal conflict. Sailors know that disagreements cannot be escaped underwater. Every resentment grows louder within steel confinement. Run Silent, Run Deep also addresses the generational divide between commanders who carry old wounds and younger sailors who question tactics born from earlier battles. This tension feels authentic to veterans who served under leaders shaped by past wars. Because of its realism, both technical and emotional submariners continue to recommend Run Silent, Run Deep as required viewing. Number 6. The Enemy Below. 1957. The Enemy Below is widely respected by sailors because it portrays naval combat as a duel of minds rather than a festival of explosions. The film follows an American destroyer escort locked in a deadly chess match with a German U-boat commander. Both sides are shown as intelligent, disciplined, and human, something sailors admire for its fairness and accuracy. What stands out most is the film's depiction of tactical maneuvering. Sailors note that the destroyer's actions, tightening attack patterns, adjusting sonar sweeps, and timing depth charge releases, reflect real ASW principles. The movie respects the intelligence required for anti-submarine warfare, where reading the ocean matters as much as reading instruments. Sailors also value its portrayal of leadership under pressure. The American captain remains calm, methodical, and analytical, never resorting to rage or bravado. Veterans say this reflects the true nature of effective command. Equally respected is the humanity granted to the German commander, portrayed not as a caricature, but as a professional officer fighting for his crew. This mutual respect underscores the film's authenticity. The Enemy Below endures not because of spectacle, but because it understands that naval warfare is a battle of patience, precision, and intellect. Sailors see that truth immediately. Number 5. Tora, Tora, Tora. 1970. Tora, Tora, Tora earns tremendous respect from sailors because it avoids glamour and instead delivers a meticulous reconstruction of the attack on Pearl Harbor. Instead of dramatizing events with exaggerated heroics, the film explores the structural failures, miscommunications, and intelligence breakdowns that allowed a surprise strike of such magnitude. Sailors appreciate this because real naval warfare often hinges more on preparation and awareness than on last-minute bravery. The film presents both sides of the conflict with fairness. Japanese naval planning is shown as precise, disciplined, and deeply rooted in strategic doctrine, while the American side is depicted as struggling with bureaucratic confusion and overlooked warnings. Sailors respect this honesty because it acknowledges that wars are not decided only by courage but also by decisions made in offices far from the battlefield. Another element sailors admire is the authentic portrayal of early carrier aviation. The film shows how difficult it was to coordinate aircraft launch sequences, maintain formation, and execute timed attacks, especially with limited technology. Tora 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 is also respected for its production accuracy. Real ships, aircraft, and naval bases were used whenever possible, giving the film a level of realism rare for its time. This commitment to authenticity ensures that sailors continue to view the film as one of the most accurate depictions of pre-war naval conditions and the chaos of sudden attack. Number 3. Greyhound, 2020. Greyhound is widely admired among sailors for its precision discipline and relentless focus on naval procedure. The film avoids melodrama and instead thrusts the audience into the intense daily grind of escort duty during the Battle of the Atlantic. Sailors appreciate that the story unfolds almost entirely through the language of command radar bearings, sonar reports, and rapid tactical decisions that leave no room for speeches or sentiment. The portrayal of Captain Krause is another element sailors respect. He embodies quiet professionalism, rarely raising his voice, but constantly thinking, calculating, and adjusting as U-boats attempt to break through the convoy screens. This depiction of command under pressure feels genuine. Real Navy veterans note that effective leadership is calm, steady, and exact, especially when every second counts. The film also captures the reality of fatigue. Krause fights on little sleep and cold meals while managing endless threats from the sea surface and sky. This mirrors the experience of sailors who endured escort duty for days without rest. Greyhound's dedication to accuracy extends to its depiction of radar sonar and destroyer maneuvering. Veterans praise how the film portrays zigzag patterns, torpedo evasion, and the claustrophobic fog of war created by incomplete information. Greyhound is not just respected, it is considered essential modern viewing for understanding naval warfare's mental and tactical demands. Number 2. The Hunt for Red October, 1990. The Hunt for Red October remains one of the most respected submarine films ever made because it combines tactical accuracy with compelling geopolitical tension. Sailors, especially submariners, admire how the film portrays sonar tracking, silent running, and the psychological intensity of deep-sea maneuvering. Even though some procedures are simplified, the overall atmosphere feels authentic to those who have served underwater. What sets the film apart is its attention to command philosophy. The opposing submarine captains represent two visions of leadership, one driven by idealism and strategy, the other by survival and duty. Sailors note that this duality reflects real command dilemmas where decisions must be made with limited information and immense consequences. The movie is also respected for its portrayal of submarine communication. Mistakes can be fatal, but silence can also be fatal. The balance between stealth and action becomes a chess match fought in darkness. Another reason sailors praise the film is its depiction of technological innovation. The concept of a nearly silent propulsion system captures the constant race between detection and concealment that defines submarine warfare. The Hunt for Red October earns its place because it delivers both authenticity and intellectual depth, showing submariners not as action heroes, but as thinkers, engineers, and tacticians. Number 1. Das Boot, 1981. Das Boot is universally regarded by sailors as the greatest naval war film ever made because it captures submarine life with unmatched realism and emotional truth. No other movie conveys the claustrophobia, exhaustion, terror, and camaraderie of underwater warfare with such immersive detail. Sailors say that watching it feels less like entertainment and more like reliving history. The film's power comes from its refusal to glamorize anything. The U-boat is filthy cramped and constantly failing. Every dive feels like a gamble, and every depth charge attack becomes a horrifying test of endurance. Real submariners praise How accurately the film portrays mechanical failures, flooding near misses, and the unbearable silence that follows each explosion. What sets Das Boot apart is its humanity. The crew is shown as ordinary men, not ideological warriors. They joke, suffer worry, and endure boredom. They celebrate small victories and dread the next patrol. Sailors respect this because it reflects the emotional rhythm of real submarine service. The film also excels in depicting leadership without theatrics. The captain leads with quiet authority shaped by fatigue and responsibility. There is no glory-only duty. Das Boot remains the definitive naval war movie because it understands the ocean as an enemy, the submarine as a fragile coffin, and the crew as a family bound by survival. Sailors see their truth in every frame. These 15 films endure because they reveal the sea not as backdrop, but as battlefield and teacher. Real sailors recognize their own struggles in these stories, from command burdens to mechanical failures to the fragile strength of crew unity. Explore them and witness the authentic spirit of naval warfare preserved on film.